Unified Junior Middleweight Titleist Sebastian Fundora is unified no more. You see, there were going to be negotiations and a purse bid for him to defend his titles against a WBO #1 contender, Xander Zayas. And what he has elected to do is give up the WBO title and pursue an option for a rematch against Tim Tszyu. There are many reasons why this is a horrible decision, and I'm only going to speak on a couple of them in this video. But the decision that's being made to avoid Xander Zayas and he giving up one of the belts that he unified is a part of everything that is wrong with the sport of boxing today. Let's talk about this situation. Sebastian Fundora, a fighter who stands 6'5.5" and has an 80-inch reach, became a world champion when he defeated Tim Tszyu. Their fight was held in March of 2024. Tim Tszyu entered that bout as the WBO super welterweight title holder, and the WBC title was thrown in for good measure for that fight. It was a split decision victory for Fundora over Tim Tszyu. A fight that was a virtual bloodbath after Tszyu sustained a horrible cut on the top of his scalp that had him bleeding the entire fight. It could have been stopped before the 4th round, where it could be declared a no contest, but for whatever reason, Tszyu's corner allowed that fight to go on. Fundora suffered what appeared to be a broken nose, where he bled profusely throughout the fight. And known to be a fighter who will hang around on the inside against his opponents because he's more comfortable in that position. For whatever reason, he was motivated to box from range, and that's how he obtained that split decision victory over Tim Tszyu. There were talks initially about a rematch, but Fundora has said he would rather fight Terrence Crawford. And his people said that they wanted him to face Errol Spence Jr. Sebastian Fundora is a PBC fighter, Premier Boxing Champion. That's his promoter. So is Errol Spence. But there is something really funny about this, because being a unified champion where he had 2 titles, the WBC and the WBO, they were going to go to a purse bid for Fundora to possibly face his number 1 contender, Xander Zayas. Now, he has been reported as of today, April 29th, that he will not take part in this Friday's purse bid for the mandatory contender Xander. So he is opting to face Tim Tszyu in a rematch. Date to be yet to be determined, but they're targeting possible July 19th at the T-Mobile, but they have other dates that will go into August that they may consider. Xander Zayas had approached Sebastian Fundora after his last fight against Chordell Booker. He made himself available. That fight took place in March of this year, and Xander was right there to say, hey, I'm next. Zayas is a nice up-and-coming fighter who is seeking a title shot. His record is 21-0 with 13 KOs. And now that the WBO has been tossed up for grabs, he is going to face number 2 ranked Jorge Garcia Perez. But this is the thing. It would have been great to see 2 young fighters in Fundora and Zayas, though Fundora, I believe, Sebastian is the elder at 27. And Xander is a fighter that's in his early 20s, but still, to face a young fighter where you can see these guys defending and challenging for world titles against one another, against the current title holder, instead of creating scenarios where someone else has an opportunity to become a world title holder by a title that has been vacated. Where is the desire to defend? Where is the desire to want to reign? I have a problem with this. And I have to say that the biggest issue here is exactly what Turki Al-Sheikh is trying to do away with. You know, he of Riyadh Season and now Ring Magazine Promotions, where he is bringing about the best of best opportunities for fighters to come together, not only for titles, not only for the bag, but to legitimize their position in boxing. If you're rated by Ring, if you become a champion by Ring, you're considered the champion of the world. That's the way it used to be. That's the way it should be. Not with all of these charades played by sanctioning bodies who just want to take their cut 30+% out of a fighter's purse to have their title. You're paying to be their champion. They're not paying you. And you put your life on the line every time you go into that ring. So Turkey's trying to encourage the fighters to leave the sanctioning trinkets alone. Get this bag that I have for you and fight these prominent fights that will define your career. Win, lose, or draw, there's utmost respect for you facing your contemporaries. A lot of fighters are afraid to break the mold because of the convenience factor. Though Xander is a nice young fighter coming up for contention, there are plenty of fighters out here who have been champions and are former title holders that he just can't beat right now. And there may have been proof that he wouldn't be able to beat Fundora based on Fundora's extremities, being 6'5", 6'5.5" with an 80-inch reach. That's a lot to overcome. But now he gets to face another guy who's not a world title holder that may not be as sharp and motivated as he, or may possibly be, but they're fighting now for a vacated belt. And who do we have to thank for this? PBC, Premier Boxing Champions. They continue to provide loopholes for the best of the fights to not get made and for guys to remain title holders without the risk of proving your legitimacy. It's an old formula that needs to die. We want to see fighters fight the best. Turkey has shown us that. He has given us that, and we want more. Fundora could have faced Xander, defeat him, and then face Tim Tszyu in a rematch. It's just one more fight. But if you think you're going to obtain more money by giving up the belt and just facing Tim Tszyu, what happened to your pride in being a legitimate world title holder? You see, which is why I call these guys that, a titleist or title holder, because champions reign. REIGN, reign, over a period of having defended their position. You're not a champion if you just acquired a vacated title. You've yet to prove that standard. And though Xander could possibly win that fight that he's going to have for the vacated title, that doesn't make him a champion. It makes him a title holder or a titleist. There is a difference, people. But see, even Xander, because he's eager for that opportunity, and you can't blame the kid, but you're not the champ. Besides, there are other fighters who are ahead of Xander that should be fighting for a title. So PBC does this thing where they maneuver and keep people in the loop, just as when Sebastian wanted to face Bud Crawford, but they shoved Errol Spence in his face. And Errol hasn't fought since he faced Terrence Crawford a few years ago now. The worst part about that is this. We don't know if we're going to see Spence in the ring again, but why use this man who's been tremendously inactive just as a placeholder so you can keep positions where other people are excluded and only your promoted fighters are within the reach and grasp of consideration of fighting for said title? Where is the respect for the integrity of the sport? Again, this is what Turki Al-Sheikh is doing away with. These type of deeds that have people standing in line with a bowl in their hand waiting for their opportunity, instead of fighting for the right to become someone of consideration. In the old days, the contenders used to fight one another. Yes, there has always been a little bit of you put some love in someone's pocket and someone can move up through the ranks. It's boxing. Corruption exists and will always exist in boxing. But those contenders who fought one another sometimes gave you better fights than the so-called title holders can defend titles against the usual suspects. And that's only because primarily the sanctioning bodies have maneuvered people around so a certain promoted fighter will have an opportunity to hold on to their status a bit longer. Politics and corruption. But these are the type of things that we're seeing too much in the sport. And again, like I said, Turki Al-Sheikh, the way he's coming about, he's doing away with the old ways of that. And you know something? You don't hear the fighters who have fought on his cards complain about the economics. You don't hear them complaining about who has so-and-so fought. You don't hear them speaking about, I got to protect my record, my undefeated record. I don't want another loss on my record, so forth and so on. Guys are getting in there and they are enthralling fight fans because the quality is being raised and their game, their boxing game is being raised because of the threat. When you recognize that there's a threat to your position, you're going to defend it with honor. And that's what we need to see. So the fact that Fundora now, with his record of 22-1 with 1 draw, 14 KOs, will move on with the WBC title. And understand the WBC, that's the title he opted to hold on to. Think about it. Tim Tszyu was chasing a man who had the WBC title for a long time. And that was Jermell Charlo, whom amazingly is not being considered for anything at this present time. Though he never lost his undisputed titles, the belts have been taken away from him. But his loss in moving up to challenge Canelo Alvarez didn't threaten his position in junior middleweight. But this southpaw, 6'6" fighter in Fundora is going to continue to perpetuate what has always been bad about the sport. Put a title on the ground and let someone else pick it up and run around. I can't respect you. I can't respect your fake legitimacy. And now that we're seeing that it can be done a better way, you have no excuse. This is Stormy B-Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know your thoughts about this move that Fundora has made. And do you agree with it or not? Leave comments and let's discuss further. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.